Pardon me, a little bit of an audio glitch, but welcome. From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Frank Fired Up here on the Mixed Up Sports Network. Here on this Monday, the 24th day in the month of the month of April 2017. A big show today. Good weekend if you're a Ranger fan, eliminating the Canadiens. On Saturday, they will play Ottawa. On Thursday, not so good if you are a baseball fan of a team of either team really in this city this weekend. Yankees losing 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh, and then you have the Mets. The Mets' main problem right now is the fact that everybody's hurt and nobody's hitting. This is the problem with having a team that is made up of mostly power hitters, because power hitters in this league, especially today, if they're not hitting the ball a mile, they're not hitting the ball at all. And when you're not hitting the ball at all, and I'm talking Cespedes, I'm talking Bruce, Granderson, Duda, who's hurt, Cabrera and Walker to some extent, when all of those guys are not hitting all at the same time is a major, major problem. And you fall into slumps the way the Mets have fallen into slumps. They are 2-8 in their last 10. Granted, Walker hit a 2-run homer yesterday. Conforto had the leadoff home run, second time already that he's done that, and people were freaking out. Well, why is Conforto hitting leadoff? Well, the kid's got 2 leadoff home runs already. He's got 4 home runs on the season. This kid's the only one that's hitting right now. He is the only one that's hitting. Reyes is still batting 104. Almost through the first month of the season, Reyes is batting 104 after last night. Granderson of $149. Lagares 111. He was hurt though. I'll give him that. He was hurt. But none, and I mean none, of these Met hitters, these big, powerful, important, meaningful Met hitters, are hitting. None of them. And this is what happens. Couple that with Met-esque errors in the infield, complete and utter lapses on defense. The starting pitching has been solid. No bullpen to speak of. Familia comes in, walks the ballpark in his first game back from his suspension. You're fitting right in. This first month of the season for the Mets has been a disaster. 2-8 in their last 10. 2-8 in their last 10. It has been a disaster for the Mets. The only bright side is their starting pitching, which is getting taxed so much right now because unless they throw a shutout, they're not winning. Syndergaard's got 30 strikeouts and no walks through his first 3 appearances. Does he have a win? No. DeGrom's 1-1? He should have won both games. Harvey's 2-0. So they're hitting for Harvey. Wheeler's now 1-2. You knew after Murphy hits the grand slam in the first inning, the game is over after the first inning because you know the Mets aren't going to manage enough hits. They got 6. They've had 8 hits over the last 2 games. They won the first game of the series in Miami and the middle game against Philadelphia. That's all they've won. They have won nothing more in the last 10 games. 2-8 in the last 10. Couple that, those 8 games are 4-game losing streaks. When you go into this season, you're saying the Mets might lose 4 games in a row once or twice this year. They've done it twice now. Forget in just the first 3 weeks. I understand it's only April. I understand this a lot can change. But if the Mets don't show improvement soon, this is going to be a team that is going to get torn apart. Collins, who is probably going to retire at the end of this year, gone. Players gone. Front office probably gone. Unless d'Arnaud turns it around, unless Duda turns it around, this will probably be the last year for them on the team. Because for the Mets, at least you have Dominic Smith down in the minors. Big power hitting first baseman to replace Lucas Duda. You don't really have anyone in the minors to replace d'Arnaud. Might be his last year with the team. You're not expecting Bruce to play here the entire year. I'm honestly not expecting Granderson to play here the entire year. And those trade deadline deals might actually happen sooner than you think if this does not turn around. After winning on Saturday 11-5, the Yankees lost yesterday 2-1, a close game, granted. Ivan Nova on the mound, he struck out 7. For Pittsburgh, Yankees 11-7. Again, this team right now, as of today, has exceeded many expectations. They certainly exceeded mine. I figured their record would be reversed. I thought they'd be 11-7, not 7-11, not 11-7. Montgomery had another solid start. 6 innings, 7 hits, a little high, but just 2 runs over 5 strikeouts. That's not a bad. That's not quite a quality start, but it's a solid start. Bring that hit number down to like 4 or 5. That's a decent start. Then you have Mitchell to go 2 to close out the game. So the pitching right now, which is the Yankees' biggest Achilles heel, appears to at least be decent. Which for the Yankees is fantastic news. And honestly, right now, they are the more entertaining team to watch in New York because the Mets are just listless right now. Both teams have the night off tonight, which is dreadful. Because now I'm stuck watching the freaking Padres, which that's just about as bad as watching the Mets right now. Mets start a series at home against Atlanta. The Yankees are going to Boston to play the Red Sox. Those start tomorrow. And hopefully with Atlanta, you get at least 2 out of 3 out of that series before you have to go to Washington to play the freaking Nationals again. Then you go back to Atlanta for 4, and then that ends. Come home for Miami May 5th, and then Monday, May 8th, begins this horrid streak at the beginning of the season where your first 32 games are against divisional opponents. which again, that's a schedule that should be made in September, not April. Close out the season playing your division. It's a lot more meaningful baseball than playing someone in the NL East or the West. That's just my opinion. The Yankees will go on and play Boston. Then over the weekend, they will host Baltimore. Toronto after that, and then the Cubbies, they'll be in Chicago. So that's what you're looking forward to over these next couple weeks. Now to the ice. After game three, after the game three performance that the Rangers put out, I'm sitting here saying, well, if they don't win game four, then they're out of this series completely. Well, not only did they win game four, they won games 5 and 6 also and put a capper on the series on Saturday night, beating the Canadiens 3-1. Matt Zuccarello lit a fire under himself and scored both goals in the second period. And then pretty much a full ice loft from Derek Stepan on an empty net with about 20 or so seconds to go to close out not only the game but the series. Now, as I said before, Ottawa had not been the greatest team over the course of the season, and the Metropolitan, which had its top three teams all over 100 points, meanwhile, the Canadiens won the Atlantic with 103. Actually, the Metropolitan had the four playoff teams that came out of that division all had 100 points. The Rangers had 102. Ottawa coming off a series against Boston, which they win. 44, 28, and 10. A big component right now for Ottawa, well, that could help the Rangers, is the fact that Erik Karlsson is playing with 2 fractures in his heel. Now, Karlsson, who is probably the best defenseman in the NHL, playing with 2 fractures in his heel, that is a major injury for a defenseman, for a skater, period. Those are not injuries you want to see a major part of your offense or a major part of your team having. He's going to play through it. He had all series against Boston. Now he's going to have to do it again against the Rangers, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think Ottawa is as good as the Rangers. I'm not the one to start punching tickets early, but to be perfectly honest, but my opinion says if you are a Ranger fan, start punching your tickets to the Eastern Conference Final now. Not because you have the best team in the East, but because your opponents have been inferior to you. Montreal had the best goaltender in the league, Carey Price. You beat them because they don't have any defense. Ottawa has offense. They have an above-average goalie. They have the best defensive player in the league. But beyond that, what do they have? They have Bobby Ryan and Derek Brassard. That's about it. beyond Eric Carlson. That's about it. Craig Anderson is a very, very good goaltender. He is a solid goaltender. That's really all you can say about him. He's an above average goalie in the league. We'll get into the series a little bit more on Thursday. But as of right now, my thought is if you're a Ranger fan, start punching your tickets. You got to be watching Washington and Pittsburgh because that most likely is going to be the next team you play. I do not think Ottawa has what it takes to beat the New York Rangers. NBA playoffs keep chugging right along. You go back to the performance by LeBron on what was it, Thursday? It was either Thursday or Friday night. The performance by LeBron, which will go down probably as one of the best playoff performances of all time. And you can use this, and you can use that game as an argument. A positive argument for that game would be, listen, this just goes to show, one, how good LeBron James is. He did not have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love for the entirety of the fourth quarter, and he pretty much single-handedly brought Cleveland back and won the game. You could also use it as an argument of this is why you rest players. So they have the energy to do this in the playoffs when it matters. If LeBron James had played all 82 games, would he have done what he did? Yeah, probably he would have. He probably would have. Why? Because LeBron is the best player in the league. That's why. LeBron James is a once in a generation player. That's why he was able to do what he did on Thursday night. That is why. And all this garbage about Paul George. See, this is what's wrong with the media. Stories that deserve to die get an extended life because Joe Blow writing a column in Wyoming has to come on ESPN and say what he thinks about Paul George, I want the ball in the last seconds. I wanted the last shot. Mills may have been wide open, I may have been double teamed, but hey, I want the last shot. Meanwhile, stories like LeBron bringing Cleveland back from 25 down, those stories die after a day, when that is a story that should continue on. Media priorities, man. They don't have any. And it amazes me what they make a story, what they continue, what stories they continue, what stories they drop. They have run this Paul George story for a week. They ran Charles freaking Oakley for 2.5. That fool is still on a media tour. Meanwhile, LeBron bringing Cleveland back single-handedly, not with Kyrie Irving, not with Kevin Love, in the fourth quarter, brings them all the way back from 25 down at the half. That one, he did it. Good for him. Paul George said this. Now they're making a story out of Russell Westbrook and his comments yesterday on a question that they asked Steve Adams about, does the team dynamic change when Russell's not on the floor? Yes, of course it does. Westbrook's the guy taking 70% of their shots. When you take all of that workload out, even just for 5 minutes, yes, that is going to change the dynamic of the team. Because now all of a sudden, okay, we got to combine this 30% somehow. And you can see the type of player that Russell Westbrook can be in the game that they won. When he's passing the ball, when he's getting his teammates involved, when he's distributing, when he's getting his shots, don't get me wrong, he's getting his shots, he's getting his rebounds, he's getting his assists, because God forbid he doesn't get a triple-double. When he's doing all of that, Westbrook and the Thunder win. But when he does what he does, which is shoot 50 times, just barely get 10 assists, steal rebounds, when he does all of that, they lose. Gee, I wonder why. But meanwhile, when he is distributing the ball, when he has more assists than he does rebounds as a guard, which is more important, they win and they look great. But he'll only do that once a month. Why? You see the success your team is having. You see how much better the team looks. Why don't you do that every night? Oh, wait, because I got to get attention for getting my triple-double. That's why. I'm sorry. Stupid me. I forgot. Absolutely incredible the difference between Westbrook when he's playing a point guard position and Westbrook when he's playing for himself. Again, another story that gets life because ESPN, Fox, CBS, TNT won't let it die. That is a non-story that they will not let die. Because they have to have some guy who just got a column in Sacramento come on and express his opinion. We don't care about your opinion. We don't care about the opinion of Stephen A. Smith, who's been there for years. It's just incredible how much nonsense is promoted, not just in the NBA, but in every sport. Same thing with the NFL, which the draft is coming up later this week. We'll have more on that tomorrow. But we have run out of time for today. I hope you guys did enjoy what little show that we did have today, and I will see you all tomorrow.